Hi, my name is Abigail Hagen, and this is my final project for FRIT 7235. For my final project, I decided to use Canvas as my learning management system. As you can see on the right side, this is my Canvas course. It is a fifth grade social studies standard that we're working on. On the left side is an example of what students see when they log in and look at the modules. There are 4 modules. This is an example of 2. For my course objectives, lesson 1 is students will learn how to be a good digital citizen and how to protect themselves and others online. Lesson 2 is my TPAC learning activity, where students will learn to identify the New England, Middle, and Southern colonies on a map. Lesson 3 is my first UDL lesson, where students will learn to describe the daily lives of people living in the New England, Middle, and Southern colonies. And lesson 4 is my last UDL lesson, where students will learn to describe colonial life in America from multiple different perspectives of people. Right now I'm looking at my Canvas course from the student perspective. So these are my modules. The student's first module is the Digital Citizenship and Online Safety module. If the students do click the modules and go to module lesson 1, they are linked to a Nearpod. If the students have trouble reading this aloud, it also comes with the immersive reader feature that allows Microsoft to read this aloud to them. Once they get into Nearpod, they are just going to have to submit their names to join the lesson, and this is student-paced as well, so they're able to do this at whatever pace necessary. Once they do get into the Nearpod, this is what they will see. There's a play button of me kind of going over what is digital literacy and kind of just introducing the lesson. I have gone and voiced over every single one of the slides just for those students who need to hear it auditorily as well as be able to read it and see it. Nearpod does come with an immersive reader as well that will read the slides to them, but I feel as if a human reader would probably be more of a personal feel for students. Students are in, they can kind of work at their own pace. So I have kind of gone over what is digital literacy and all of the different aspects that come along with it. I also give some examples within just about how students can use this in their personal lives. There is also a video included in this lesson that, like I said, goes along with what students kind of deal with in their personal lives, especially in the fifth grade space where they have a lot of social media. I feel as if this will help them to kind of understand digital literacy at their level. I also have an infographic for them to look at in case the video did not resonate with them as much. After that, we kind of go into a discussion board that says what is one example of a way that you can become a good digital citizen, where I have kind of put in my own description so that students kind of have an example to look at while they are adding to the discussion post. In the end, we have a game called Time to Climb. It just kind of gives some examples. You can create your character. Once the students are on it, they just can answer some true or false questions about how they should be acting online. Answer some of those questions so we can see how the game works. And this game is just, it really resonates with students. I've used it with students in the past, and they love it. They feel like it's very competitive. They can, once other students have answered and completed the game on their own, they'll be able to race with the other students. I feel as though this just gives a better student engagement when it comes to games. I have included all of the lesson aspects into this Nearpod. However, if the students do feel as if they want to go back and look at the discussion later without going through the Nearpod, they are able to go into the modules and the discussion is there as well. The discussion is graded. Once we get into module 2, it's kind of set up the same way as module 1. Once you click on the lesson, it takes you straight to a Nearpod. This is what students see as they enter the Nearpod. It is student-paced as well as the last one. Once they move on, they'll see their learning target, and they will also be shown a screenshot of their guided notes that are included in the module as well, so that students are able to download them. They will also see their 13 colonies map that they do have to print out and complete to go along with this lesson. This is outlined in the module as well. So students are able to download these, print them out, use them however. With the notes, they're able to do this by typing, they're able to do it online, they're able to do it by hand, however they feel comfortable. Everything downloaded, they are directed to an Edpuzzle lesson. In this lesson, it is kind of like a YouTube video, except for it stops midway so that students are able to do discussion questions. Completing the Edpuzzle lesson and completing their guided notes and their map, I kind of go over the New England, Middle, and Southern colonies in more of a simplified way for the students. After this, the students are directed to a discussion post on Padlet. In this Padlet, students are to answer the question, what do you think what life was like for the people living in each region? Take what they know about the climate, landscapes, and etc. to make their best assumption. They'll complete a 3 to 5 sentence response and reply to at least one other classmate. After completing the discussion post, the students will be prompted to go back to the Canvas course and complete the group work on the 13 colonies. For this activity, students will be placed in a group of 3 in which they will be assigned one of the colonial regions. For this region, students will create one slide on a Google Slides presentation that encapsulates the region that they're assigned. For example, if a student's assigned the Southern colonies, the student will access this Google Slides presentation and they'll create a slide that lists the states in the region, pictures that describe the region, and 3 facts regarding the region. Students will also be provided an activity rubric both in the Nearpod and in the course modules under the group work. For completing the group work, the students will be assigned a Kahoot quiz in which they can use their map and their guided notes to complete for a quiz. Also included an extra practice word wall activity so that students can label the 13 colonies in a game format. So how does Module 2 meet TPAC? This lesson incorporates collaboration and class discussions into the lesson plans to meet each student's needs and encourage collaboration. The tools available that we use are Edpuzzle, Nearpod, Google Slides, and Kahoot, and WordWall. As you can see on the right side, all the technology resources that were implemented, these resources that I just explained, are age appropriate and accessible to all of the students, and the technology implemented is technology that is consistently used in the classroom, so they're familiar with the resources we're using. And due to the differences in the use of the technology, students will remain engaged in the lesson. Module 3 keeps the same thing going with the Nearpod and all of the assignments and lessons included. It also uses a lot of the same resources so that students are familiar. We have explained once they click that today you'll be learning about the daily lives of people in the New England, Middle, and Southern colonies, and they click on the Nearpod to access. Once the students are into the Nearpod, it is student-paced as well. You have their learning targets that they are clearly able to decipher, and then you have a video. The video describes the life in the colonial regions. Once the students start the video, there are a lot of accessibility features within. There are closed captions for those who need it, and there is also a playback speed, so students can watch the video normally, or they can slow it down to meet their own pace. As you can see here, students are also not able to skip through the video. Once the students watch the video, I also have included a few slides of my own that kind of go over life in the New England, Middle, and Southern colonies in more of a student-friendly manner. Once I have gone over the life in the 3 colonial regions, students are also given a reading. It goes more into depth of certain aspects of life in colonial times. For accessibility options, students are able to use the immersive reader in Nearpod if needed to read this certain article. Once they have gotten the lesson completed watching the video, listening to myself go over the life in all 3 colonial regions, and they have done the reading, they have a discussion post embedded into the Nearpod. The question for this discussion post is, which of the colonial regions would you have chosen to live in at the time, and why would you have chosen to live there? Students need to respond with a 3 to 5 sentence paragraph, and they are also instructed to reply to at least one classmate. Once the students have completed the discussion, they are then prompted to start their assignment using the choice board. This choice board is shown in the Nearpod and is also under the assignment choice board as well in the module. Students are able to pick the people in one of the colonial regions and create a character profile, a creative writing or diary entry, a poster or collage, or are able to map out the location of the colonies and give fun facts. In the module, I've also included videos of life in each of the colonies that kind of go more in depth so that students have more research available to them for the assignment. Once the students have completed and turned in the assignment, they're then given a Look-It quiz to turn in for an assessment. So how does Module 3 meet UDL guidelines? The gamification and creativity pieces in this lesson allow students to engage with the material more than just reading a text. Allowing students to have a choice of how to express their learning has been proven to be an effective way in which students can improve on retaining the information being taught. Students are also able to complete all of the assignments using multiple online resources. For 2 of the assignments, students are able to handwrite. This allows students to have the opportunity to complete assignments at their own discretion. It's also very helpful to students with disabilities as it allows them to use many online tools such as text-to-speech and speech-to-text to complete the assignments and to learn during the lesson. Students are also very familiar with the use of all the technology in the lesson. The way in which they're able to have freedom as to how to use the technology increases student engagement. Module 4 is laid out in the same way the other lessons have been laid out as well. They click here and they're able to access the Nearpod. After submitting their name, they're able to access the presentation. We have their learning objectives described, and then I go into detail about the different perspectives of people at the time. As you can see, the descriptions of the people and their perspectives are told in kind of a storytelling way to make sure that I am really resonating with 5th grade students. Going over the different perspectives, students are able to access Ducksters.com. With Ducksters.com, it comes with a daily life section where students can really deep dive into different roles, places, jobs and occupations, daily life in the city or on the farm. Give students a more in-depth perspective. By clicking on one of these, they can read any of the articles. It can also read any of these to them using the Nearpod interactive or immersive reader. .com also gives a reading of the page in a human reader if needed. After learning and completing all the material needed for the lesson, students are given another choice board for their final presentation in the unit. In this presentation, each student chooses a group of people to present. Using the presentation option of their choice, they're creating a presentation showing and describing the daily lives of their group of people that they choose. So they can make a podcast of the daily life, they can make a video recording, they can make a picture book, or they can make just a slideshow. I have also included the presentation rubric in the Nearpod as well. And this choice board and rubric can also be located in the module. After completing and turning in their presentation, the students are given another Look-It quiz as kind of a last assessment in the unit. So how does Lesson 4 meet UDL guidelines as well? The choice board included allows for student choice as to how to present their learning. This can be done by creating a podcast, a video, a storybook, or a slideshow. It allows for multiple sources of presenting for higher student engagement and retention. All of the resources and the lesson and the assignments are very accessible for learners. They're able to use text-to-speech or speech-to-text software if needed. They're also able to record a podcast or create a video, which allows for them to not use text in order to present their learning. They're also very familiar with the use of any technology in this lesson, and it will help them to feel more comfortable in completing the assignments and retaining the information presented. All of my lessons do meet Myers' 12 principles of multimedia learning. My lessons meet the first principle as the language and graphics are as simple as possible. We meet Principle 2 as important examples, if given, are in list. We meet Principle 3 as subtitles as well as narration are provided for each of the Nearpods. Principle 4, all information needed is on one space in every slide I've presented. For Principle 5, every voiceover is concise with the transitions. And for Principle 6, all slides are simple and segmented, and they allow for narration to be sped up or slowed down. Principle 7 as the digital literacy vocabulary and any vocabulary used is listed in the Canvas course. Text is as simplified as possible for Principle 8. Principle 9, all images and infographics are simple and easy to read for 5th grade students. For Principle 10, the language is as simple as can be and the vocabulary is further explained if needed. For Principle 11, the narration is high quality and in my own voice. And for Principle 12, I have narrated over all of the writing and the visuals for both visual and auditory learners to both have access. There are multiple different accessibility features within the course. All students can access text-to-speech and speech-to-text technology when needed. All students are given both written and auditory lessons and directions in the assignments. All students have access to guided notes for them to refer to when needed. And students are also able to complete assignments using text or by completing assignments verbally, allowing them for freedom as to what works best for them. This concludes my final project. Thank you.